Everybody, you are live with Greener Pastures. As usual, it's with myself, Dave Owen, chairman of Legalize ND, and our co-host, Jonah Lantto of the Good Talk Network out of Minot. And we got a great show coming up for you. We're going to be talking about more cannabis, less alcohol, why that's generally a good thing. We're going to be talking about cannabis and science, and we're going to be talking about how to get that record of yours sealed. So stay tuned for the show, and let's go. Jonah, can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Welcome to Greener Pastures, everybody. It's always great to be here. It's awesome to help be a part of the effort to end prohibition. I think ultimately that's what our main goal is here, to create some education for cannabis as well as some awareness for our movement to just get it legalized, to put a stop and an end to prohibition here, Dave. And yeah, a lot of great topics on board today. I've been doing a little bit of research in preparation for this show, and I came across quite a few interesting things. And I know we want to open with, I'm excited to talk about the science, but I know we're opening, of course, today with alcohol. More cannabis, less alcohol. Is that a good thing? Is it really happening? And what some of the other states that have legalized cannabis are seeing. And I'll come right out and say it, that I, for sure, more cannabis, less alcohol, safer society. I think it's a good thing.
I would
it really is.
I would 100% agree. So the old joke that we always make is the victims of drunks are people getting abused by their significant other. It's people dying in DUIs. The victims of cannabis are pizza boxes. And that's kind of always been the joke. But in every joke, there's some truth, right? So I don't know marijuana users who get angry and belligerent when they smoke. It has a calming effect, and generally substances that have a calming effect are very preferential to what I'll call emotional amplifiers. And that's what alcohol fundamentally is. It amplifies the emotions that maybe you're trying to hide, or it makes you maybe more susceptible to expressing who you really are. And that is sometimes a good thing, but it's usually a bad thing. Insofar as you're not going to have the social mores and norms that you would otherwise have. So,
yeah, look, man, I enjoy a craft beer as much or more than the next person. But realistically, when I look at the situation and I look at, again, what most people I know and that I've encountered, like, the idea that you're going to be in a room full of drunks, it's a little scary, right? DUI crashes related to alcohol, one of the leading causes of death in the country and in North Dakota. And by no means does that mean that people can... The level of impairment that comes with that is associated with alcohol is just not the same as with cannabis, as with smoking marijuana. And I mean, yeah, more calming effect. Of course, there's the joke about the munchies and everything like that. But don't just take my word for it when I say that cannabis is in fact having an impact on alcohol sales. There is in fact a study, and it was conducted using sales data from more than 90 alcohol chain stores, and it was a 10-year study from 2006 to 2015. Over the 10-year study, counties located in medical marijuana states showed almost a 15% reduction in monthly alcohol sales. So for them, they concluded in the study that marijuana and alcohol are strong substitutes for each other. They share a very similar audience. So it stands to reason that introducing legal marijuana, where alcohol consumption is legal, may very well result in a negative effect on alcohol sales, which of course that industry doesn't want to hear, but that's a fact. And we know in North Dakota, per capita, we are one of the highest consuming states for alcohol in the country. And I don't know that that's something to be proud of. We can joke that we're proud of it. We're great beer drinkers here. We love our PBRs and our Busch lattes and craft beers. But is that a good thing? Is it as healthy? Especially later in the episode as we talk more about the impact of cannabis and science and a lot of the medical implications that endocannabinoids and cannabis in general can have, that simply alcohol cannot make those same claims. No matter how you want to look at it, consuming alcohol is fun and you can do it in moderation and it's safe, but there is a negative effect on your body. That is putting a poison into your body, and you simply can't compare cannabis. Cannabis, no matter how you want to slice the pie, it's not poison for your body in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Alcohol does not reduce pain and cure cancer, so to speak, and it doesn't have healing effects. It's not prescribed for cancer patients. Marijuana has been prescribed in some form for cancer patients since the 1980s. But what interests me is there was a study on, according to the National Institute of Health, NIH, and they found that roughly, call it 30-ish% of all people college age will use marijuana over at least once in a month. And we compare that to alcohol, which is about 80%. So logically speaking, you should see about 4 times as many driving under the influence of alcohol as compared to marijuana driving under the influences. You don't see that. You see much more responsible marijuana use in terms of your DUI rates relative to each other. And that's, I think, another big thing is marijuana users, for whatever reason, tend to make better decisions and tend to be more responsible about their use, especially in states where it's legal. And that's another huge thing. People just aren't smoking marijuana, replacing it with alcohol, and then going driving. And I think that's huge. So if we can take people off of alcohol, which is what's appearing to happen, and instead put them on a substance where they're not going to drive impaired, I think that's a huge benefit that's not talked about enough, quite frankly.
Yeah. Look, as a parent, I hope that my kid will make intelligent choices as he moves into college. And you're going to, it's just virtually a normal part of life that you're going to be at a party in college, and there's going to be alcohol, or there will be some cannabis, or there will be substances there, right? Let's not refuse to discuss the proverbial elephant in the room. When it comes to getting older and making new friends and socializing, you're going to encounter parties eventually, right? Most people. Pretty fair conclusion to draw, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I would agree 100%.
So, understanding that scenario, and I'm considering, my son is going to wander into one of these parties, and this group of people, whatever it might be, they're going to have, maybe they have whiskey and they have a keg of beer, and somebody maybe has pills. Another kid has cannabis. Okay, my son's going to try something. He's going to get in this party. What do I want him to take? Okay, the great choice is, hey, be sober, enjoy the party as it is.
But that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So again, I need to emphasize, I'm not encouraging this. This is just the reality of the world that we live in, and kids and teenagers, even young adults. Doesn't have to be a teenager. Maybe he's in his 20s before this happens, right? Maybe he's 22, 23. Ultimately, if you've got these options before you and you're going to do, I would want my kid to take the cannabis, because that's the safest of all the options that you're going to find at most of these parties.
Well, the sad thing is, right now, you want your kid to take the alcohol because of the criminal penalties. Because let's pretend, heaven forbid, he leaves the party or the cops get called on it, and we all know parties where the cops got called. I've been at many of them. They're not going to give a crap about the people who had a beer and kind of skirted out. They're going to go after the people with marijuana, and they're going to screw up their life for no good reason.
No good reason whatsoever. And it doesn't need to be that way. It shouldn't happen that way. And I feel that, I don't know what, some people might have a fearful or disconnected experience with cannabis at some point in their life. But I guess the way we've normalized binge drinking and partying and villainize the person who wants to smoke a joint is a little crazy to me. Again, I've just never seen a room full of pot smokers. I've never seen them start a fight. Yeah, it's never happened.
Nobody gets upset at Shaggy.
Maybe a witty exchange of sarcasm and insults over the last slice of pizza. That's about as hostile as it might get. You can't say that for alcohol. So I think very important to just look at the bigger picture when it comes to these situations, and realize that in a lot of these states too, in the effort to quote combat cannabis legalization from opposing industries, the alcohol industries have opposed it on several counts.
So,
and what does that tell you when they're putting lobbying money? When they're lobbying against cannabis legalization, that should tell you something.
So while we were talking, I pulled up on Colorado.gov. They do an annual report on public safety and driving under the influence. And we've established that roughly 1 in every 4 people who's an adult in Colorado is using marijuana. And we've established that roughly 80% of all college students are using alcohol. So what that would mean is you should see 4 times as many DUIs for alcohol than marijuana. Right now, we're seeing roughly 10 times more alcohol DUIs than marijuana DUIs.
Oof.
And that's assuming that 80% of all Americans use alcohol, and that's not accurate. It's just not. It's accurate in the college demo, but it's not accurate across all Americans. It's hard to find statistics for all Americans on alcohol. But that alone, to me, is the beginning and end of the story. You are 9 to 10 times more likely to go out and kill a family of 5 after a party if you've drank alcohol than if you smoked marijuana and got behind the wheel. Those are the odds. The odds are 9 to 10 times more people will get behind the wheel and drive drunk than drive stoned.
Wow. Oof.
That's insane.
It's scary, and we're losing. We're losing our loved ones to some of that stuff. And I just, for reference, for anybody kind of interested in exploring some of these alcohol versus cannabis topics that we're discussing, there are articles posted in Medical News Today. One of them that we kind of referenced for this is the fact that legalization may mean more cannabis and less alcohol in colleges. Another one, again, from Forbes.com, drinking rates drop in states with recreational marijuana laws. And I know we've got a read coming up, but again, just to give people some data that is super relevant. Looking at in 2015, so binge drinking has been on the rise overall in America. So in 2015, the CDC released data that indicated 17 billion Americans stuck down 17 billion alcoholic beverages in 2015. And there was another document that was produced in conjunction with this, that binge drinking is on the decline in states that have legal marijuana laws on the books. And in those states, the number of binge drinking sessions per month was 9% below the national average. And so just, again, very relevant to point out as we pledge for a safer society, and a safer society is one in which cannabis is legal.
And one other thing I want to point out is there's always this concern of, well, what about kids? What about people who are 12 to 18? Are they increasing their marijuana consumption as states legalize? That's a question you hear all the time on the campaign trail. People argue about this over and over and over and over again. And so I decided to pull up the Colorado data, specifically the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, combined with the Healthy Colorado Kids surveys, which are the 2 best surveys we have. So in 2008 and 2007, when marijuana was criminal in Colorado, 2007, 2008, that school year, the marijuana use rate was 9.1%. So roughly 1 in every 11 people used marijuana in a Colorado high school from 2007, 2008, that academic year. As of 2015 to 2016, it was also 9.1%. So despite 4 years of legal marijuana, youth use has not gone up. It stayed the same.
Remained roughly the same.
Well, exactly the same on this survey, but within the margin of error on all the surveys.
Absolutely. And I'd wager in more places.
And
a dollar of education or a dollar of prevention, which I think education is
worth $100
of money after the fact. And when you have legal cannabis in your state, there is a more educative process in place to help your youth. You're not preaching prohibition or just saying no. You're letting these kids understand what these substances are. And I think I want people who are informed.
And what concerns me is Well, I'm going to do the read real quick, and then we'll talk about what concerns me. As a reminder, you are listening to KRFF 95.9 LPFM radio, serving the Moorhead-Fargo area. Our number is 701-478-4959. Again, 701-478-4959. And this hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by the Northland Vapor Company. Northland Vapor e-liquids are quality, not costly. They offer many smoking cessation options for all smokers looking to quit. Northland Vapor also offers a variety of CBD products ranging from capsules, tinctures, e-liquids, candies, gummy, flour, as well as CBD coffees and teas. Northland Vapor has locations in Moorhead, South Fargo, and Bemidji, or you can visit them online at www.northlandvapor.com. Northland Vapor is quality, not costly. Thank you, Northland Vapor. They're great folks. They're doing a lot of good for the community. So thank you guys for sponsoring Radio Free Fargo this hour.
Absolutely. Great to be here again on Radio Free Fargo. They have a ton of amazing content, including a show, an occasional show from our friend Ryan, from our friend Mr. Cold Sweat, Ryan Tetzloff. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out all their great content here at Radio Free Fargo. And you can find me, Jonah Lantto, on Facebook.com/The Good Talk Network, one of the preeminent podcast networks in the North Dakota region. We're also producing a regular late-night TV show, North Dakota's first late-night show. It's called Good Night Live or Good Night Minot. Be on the lookout for us on the rise in 2020.
So
what concerns you, Mr. David Stewart Owen?
What concerns me is also the rise in hype that we don't compare marijuana to tobacco. Because as I'm sure you're aware, tobacco was just raised to 21, right? And we're not doing studies to see if marijuana use helps with cessation of tobacco. It's just something that hasn't really been researched. And I think that's another benefit that's probably happening. And the argument I'm going to follow is the vapor and e-cigarette argument, which is basically e-cigarettes have gotten people off of cigarette use at a rate we haven't seen in decades. That is a fact. We can argue whether or not e-cigarettes are safer than cigarettes. The science says they are. But what is an abject fact is less people are using cigarettes now than they were 5 years ago. And the only thing that changed in that time was the development of e-cigarettes. And we saw just a drop through the floor. I'd be willing to bet that marijuana use also helps cessate cigarettes. And we talk about how bad alcohol is. We forget how bad tobacco is. I've had a relative die from issues from smoking cigarettes. I know countless people who smoked a lot of cigarettes and they've screwed up their health. Cigarettes will kill you. Lock, stock, and barrel, they will kill you. They will ruin your life.
One of the leading killers in the United States.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Jonah. I'd rather people smoke marijuana than use nicotine in the form of cigarettes.
Absolutely.
Would I rather they not use anything? Yeah. But let's face facts, folks. That ain't going to happen. So I think we need to look at marijuana as, again, an off-ramp. We're proving it's an off-ramp for alcohol. I'd be willing to bet it's an off-ramp for nicotine and tobacco use as well. And
yes. It's it's not a gateway into more worse drugs. It's a gateway out from more dangerous addiction.
I prefer the term off-ramp, but yeah, it's not a...
Yes, absolutely. But using their terminology of there being a gateway one way or the other, I'm for sure. Off-ramp, even better. Gateway out, using, of course, the terminology that most people have heard all their life. We grew up hearing marijuana the gateway drug, when in fact,
spoilers not.
It's cigarettes and tobacco were the quote-unquote gateway drugs, and realistically, people that I've encountered over my life who stuck with perhaps cannabis over alcohol or over some of these other deadlier, more addictive substances, they're in a much better position in their life. Look, again, health benefits, the psoriasis of the liver created by alcohol, even if you're not like a quote-unquote alcoholic, that is still taking a much heavier and steeper toll over time on your body, on your liver, than cannabis ever could on anything. The
body was not designed to digest ethanol. Just wasn't.
No.
But now we need to get into the next part of the show because we're starting to run a little long on this segment. I think it's important that we talk about this Marijuana Pardon Advisory Board application and kind of take everyone through the process because for whatever reason, people aren't doing it. And I never assume malice where we can assume ignorance or incompetence. So I want to make sure everyone knows how to do it and knows where the resources are. So the first thing...
And real quick, before you jump in, Dave, and just to be very clear for everyone, anyone listening in North Dakota or wherever you might be listening from, if you have friends, family, cousins, relatives, people, anyone in North Dakota who has a minor conviction previously from marijuana, a marijuana possession charge or some form of marijuana charge that is a minor offense in the state of North Dakota, you can get that expunged from your record completely. It's a pretty easy process. We're going to break that down for you. And I just want to make it like literally scream it from the rooftops that you can get your marijuana conviction expunged in North Dakota. Now, if you were selling it, can you get that expunged? Probably not. But
definitely not on sale.
Very likely not. It's not designed for that. But if you just had some personal marijuana and you got arrested for marijuana use or consumption or small possession, you can easily get that expunged from your record, and you need to do it. There are people who worked hard for you to have that opportunity. And again, as we're about to put, almost 200,000 people in North Dakota qualify to have some form of prior marijuana charge expunged right now. Nearly 200,000 people.
And there's only 800,000 people that live here. So 1 in every 4 people is eligible for this currently. Just to put it in perspective. So
yes, let's get this figured out. I mean, everybody, I feel like, I won't say everybody, but I feel like a lot of people have that buddy or that friend when they were younger and being silly and maybe making, foolish decisions, 18, 19, 20 years old. People who are now 27, 30, 35, even 40 years old at any point in your life, if you had a marijuana charge and it's still on your record in North Dakota, you can get it removed.
Yeah, and this program is not guaranteed to be around next year. So how these programs work is the Pardon Advisory Board meets under recommendations from the legislature, and depending on what the legislature recommends is whether or not to do these special programs. And if they see that nobody's applying for it, these programs can and will go away. So let's go through the process. Step 1, if you're listening in, go to Google, type in the words North Dakota Record Marijuana Pardon. And you'll see the first link is docr.nd.gov, sites, files, blah, blah, blah. It's a PDF file. You open that. So right now, your deadline is early August. So I would mail it out on August 1st. Or before then, ideally, you've already missed the April deadline, which was earlier this month. From there, you're going to have to do a couple of things. Step 1, you've got to get a copy of the criminal judgment, the criminal information, complaint, or citation for each offense for which you seek relief. So that's quote-unquote the first hurdle. How do you do that? Well, you got to look up where exactly was I convicted. Jonah, you live in Minot. I live in Grand Forks. We'll pick on Grand Forks County this time.
Sure.
What you do, you call the Grand Forks County Department of Records. You talk to them. They will get you to the correct person. They will mail it to you, a copy of your records, or you can go in person. Typically, they guarantee it within 3 to 5 business days. So once you go, you call them. They'll say, hey, what's your name? You give them the information, and then you can either schedule to pick it up in person or have them mail it to you. So that's step 1. Get all of those. Step 2, you need to get a photocopier, and you need to go to the library, and you need to, if you don't have a printer, and get a photocopy of your driver's license or your state identification card. So if you don't have a driver's license, you have to go to the DMV and get one. Otherwise, go make a photocopy of your driver's license. Then you have to fill out the following things. You have to check whether you're a first-time applicant or if you've applied before. If you've applied before, you have to type in the date, write the date you were denied. From there, you have to write your name in the application. Please print it in a nice, legible way. Your social security number, your date of birth, your place of birth, your race, where you currently live, your city, again, where you currently live, the state, the zip code, and then a telephone number. If you were previously married and changed your last name, you need to include your former names or aliases. Let's pretend you legally changed your name. You would have to include your previous name. And then you have to write in the following: the trial and sentencing judge and the county in which that trial occurred, the prosecuting attorney, again, the county, the defense attorney, and the county. If you represented yourself, put your name and then put a / not applicable, then put the county, then you have to sign and date it. So that's how that all works, and then you need to send it by mail. So it's a really simple process. It's about 10 pages of paper, assuming you had multiple charges.
Right.
Right, so let's pretend you get this all done. Right, it doesn't take long. We're talking 5 days and probably 30 minutes of work. The hardest part of this is going to be contacting the county that has your record. And then you're done. You send it in, and let me give you the things that are applicable for this version. 1, only pardons for North Dakota and not federal or tribal cases. So if a tribal case, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And it is designed for possession, and it's an unconditional pardon. So here are the exact offenses where you will get a recommendation for an unconditional pardon. Possession of a controlled substance, marijuana, possession of marijuana paraphernalia, or ingestion of marijuana in the state of North Dakota. Now, if you have other charges, such as intent to delivery, manufacture, or another offense, except possession of a marijuana substance, then you're going to have to fill out a different form, but I would still fill this one out and make them tell you no. Fill this out, make them tell you no. They will forward you to another form for a different request, and it's still possible to get a pardon with that different form. It's not guaranteed like this is, but there's no harm in applying here. We're talking $5 to $10 after postage. Then
Right.
Step 3, you have to not have been given a criminal offense in any court over the past 5 years prior to the day of this application. And you are certifying that you will allow the state of North Dakota to do a complete criminal record and background check on you.
So get it done, folks. Let everybody know. Have them listen to this. This episode is available after the fact on YouTube through the Legalize ND YouTube page, and spread the word.
And if you need help, I want to get this clear. If you need help, please message Legalize ND, legalizend2020@gmail.com. We will help you within reason. There are certain things you have to do yourself, but we will help you. We'll guide you through the process. We've done this for like 15 of the 26 people that did it now. We know what we're doing. Now, knowing what we're doing does not guarantee you the result that you want, but at the very least, we can make sure that the form is done properly.
Yes, exactly.
And here's the thing. If thousands of people apply, you're going to have a good success rate. Here's the current success rate. It's 50-ish%, closer to 55%. So that means you got a 50-50 shot if you apply right now of getting a pardon. But if nobody applies, I can't lobby to extend this. So let's pretend that you've got a delivery charge or a manufacturer charge, right? Let's pretend that's the case. I hope it's not, but let's pretend that's the case. I can't fight for you if nobody's doing this current program. So it behooves you, if you know people, to reach out to them, even if this won't apply to you. Because in order to expand a program, you have to prove that there's need for it. And when only 26 out of, 200,000 bother to apply, it makes it very hard for me to go fight for you guys. Because at a certain point, they're just lazy stoners does start to kick in. And 26 out of 200,000, let's play some math here, all right? Because I think people understand that that's a low number. I want them to understand how low of a number that is. That is 0.013%. So in an entire year, 1 in every 10,000 people who was eligible applied.
We can do better. And we do better by spreading the word, getting it out there to people, telling them, don't be afraid to pursue this course of action to improve your life and to get that off your record. I think a lot of people are just like, well, you know what? That was 10 years ago, and I've got a job now, and nobody cares, and I've moved on with my life. That's probably how a lot of people feel.
A lot of people do. It will come up whenever you're eligible for promotion. It'll come up whenever you're trying to do anything. Credit check, applying for housing. It will come up. It will make your life more difficult, and in many cases, it will lead to you not getting the things that you would otherwise get if you didn't have that record.
Yep.
And a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people are struggling. Let's pretend the company is going to do a bonus. Who do you think is going to get it? Among two equal employees. Let's pretend they're looking to promote somebody.
It could really come down to that.
And I know right now in Fargo, there's probably about 20,000 people. That's what the statistics say. Who are listening to this? Who can listen to this program? Who are eligible?
Sure. All right. Well,
so
that's that on expungement. Get it taken care of. And
this is not expungement. This is pardoning.
Well, sorry, pardoning. Yes, yeah. That verbiage is there's a difference.
There's a huge difference.
Yep.
So, this is a reminder, you're listening to KRFF 95.9 LPFM, serving the Moorhead Fargo area. Our number is 701-478-4959. It is 11:32 in the morning, and coming up, we've got our read. So, this portion of Radio Free Fargo, I want to promote Meth and Greet Death at the Aquarium on Monday, February 3rd. It's a Chicago-based collective towing the line between mathcore and noise. It's Flint, Michigan post-rock with Flower Envy and Cinevent. The time still is TBA, but it's going to be a great show. That's again at the Aquarium. The tickets are at Dempsey's, Orange Records, and ticketweb.com. And it's at 226 Broadway in Fargo. Again, the Aquarium. And coming up is Meth, Greet Death on Monday, February 3rd.
Perfect, man. Yeah, Fargo's always